Okay, so if you're here, you're probably, I'm guessing, looking for some real answers about rosacea, right?
Yeah. And maybe even like a cure. I get it.
A cure. Everyone wants the cure.
Right. Especially when it feels like it's way more than just, a little bit of sensitivity.
It just won't quit.
It's so frustrating.
And it's not exactly rare either. I mean, it affects hundreds of millions of people. Over 415 million, actually, worldwide.
It's huge.
So we want to be super upfront right off the bat. Like, we don't have a miracle cure to offer you today.
Right, not yet anyway.
Not yet. But what we do have is a ton of information.
Yeah, from like everywhere. We dug into the latest in health and wellness.
Medical journals, research studies. We even looked at a few like niche publications.
We wanted to get a complete picture.
So our mission for this deep dive
is to give you like a much clearer understanding of what's really going on.
What rosacea is, what causes it, and how you can manage it.
So we can finally like transform your skin.
We're going beyond the surface here. Unpacking the complexities.
Because, like we said, it's not simple.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is rosacea?
Right, good question. I mean, it seems like it can be so different for everyone.
It does.
So basically, rosacea is a chronic inflammatory skin disorder.
Okay.
And it mainly affects the central face.
Central face.
That's your cheeks, your nose, forehead, chin, that whole area.
Got it.
Now, it's not constant.
So it comes and goes.
Yeah, it's cyclical, like imagine waves.
Oh, like flare-ups.
Exactly. Periods where the symptoms are more intense, followed by periods of remission where things calm down a bit.
And that's, I guess, why it's so hard to pinpoint, right?
Absolutely. And what makes it even trickier is that the symptoms can vary, like a lot from person to person.
Oh, so like what bothers one person might be totally fine for another.
Exactly.
And how it actually shows up on the skin can be different too.
Totally different. It's definitely not one size fits all.
So is it wrong to think of it as like just a skin problem?
Yeah, it's deeper than that.
It is.
It is. The visible stuff is on your skin, of course, but the root of it can be a lot more complex. We're talking immune system, even connections to other systems in your body.
Wow.
But before we get too deep into that, let's break down those common symptoms.
Yeah, let's do that so people know what to look for.
Exactly. So the most common one, and usually the first sign, is persistent redness.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just like a blush after you've been running or something.
Right.
It's a flushed look that kind of sticks around.
Yeah.
And it's usually most noticeable on the cheeks, nose, forehead, chin.
And it gets worse after like a trigger.
Yeah, for sure. Certain things can make it way more noticeable.
Right. Okay. So persistent redness. What else?
Visible blood vessels.
Like broken capillaries.
Kind of. They're called telangiectasia, which sounds super complicated.
It does.
But it basically means, those tiny, thin, red lines you see right under the skin's surface.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like little spider veins almost. Then you have those acne-like bumps, pustules and papules.
The ones that make you think you have acne again.
Totally.
But like your regular acne stuff doesn't work on them.
Exactly. It's frustrating.
It is. And I know some people, it affects their eyes too, right?
Right. That's ocular rosacea.
Ocular rosacea.
Yeah. And it can be like super uncomfortable.
So their eyes get dry and itchy.
Itchy, gritty, even bloodshot.
Oh, no fun at all.
And sometimes those eye symptoms can actually show up before any skin changes.
Really?
Yeah, which makes diagnosis tricky.
Wow. So redness, blood vessels, bumps, eye problems, anything else?
There's rhinophyma, but it's less common.
Rhinophyma, okay.
And like I said, it's less common, especially in women.
What is it exactly?
It's when the skin on the nose thickens.
Oh, I see.
Makes the nose look bigger, more bulbous.
Okay, so a lot of different symptoms. And I know from like all our research, there's no single cause.
Nope.
Right. So what are the main suspects? What do scientists think is going on?
It's complicated, but there are a few key factors. And one of the biggest is your immune system.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, specifically the immune system in your skin.
Like our skin has its own immune system.
It does. It's your body's first line of defense against like all the stuff out there.
Wow.
And with rosacea, that system seems to be working overtime.
Overtime.
Yeah, going into overdrive, leading to that constant inflammation.
Okay, so like zooming in at a microscopic level, what's actually happening there?
So there are these molecules, right, called cathelicidins.
Cathelicidins.
Or LL37, if you want to get technical.
Okay, I'll stick with cathelicidins.
They're these natural peptides in your skin that are supposed to protect you.
From what?
Microbes, bacteria, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But with rosacea, you get way too many of them.
Too many protectors.
And they get changed chemically into a form that can actually trigger inflammation.
So they end up doing the opposite of what they should be doing.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Then you have toll-like receptor 2 or TLR2.
TLR2.
Think of it like an alarm system on your skin cells.
Okay.
These sensors react to different things.
Like what?
Sun, temperature changes, irritants.
Ah, makes sense.
But with rosacea, the alarm is like super sensitive.
So it's going off all the time.
Way too easily, yeah. Even for things that shouldn't really trigger it.
So annoying.
And then there are mast cells.
Mast cells.
These are immune cells that release histamine.
Histamine. Oh, like when you have allergies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's what causes the redness, the swelling, that burning feeling you can get during a flare-up.
So that explains why even, like, seemingly harmless stuff can set things off.
Yeah, it's that overreaction.
Right. Makes sense.
And then we've got those flushing episodes.
Oh, yeah, those are not fun.
Not fun at all. Facial flushing is super common with rosacea.
Why does it happen?
It all comes down to your skin's neurovascular system.
Which is?
How your nerves and blood vessels work together in your skin.
Okay.
And with rosacea, it's just, like, way too reactive.
So what's making it so sensitive?
It's thought to be these things called TRP channels.
TRP.
Transient receptor potential channel.
Okay, we'll stick with TRP.
They're like tiny little sensors in your skin.
Yeah.
And they're really sensitive to temperature changes.
Like heat.
Heat, cold, yeah.
Interesting.
But with rosacea, those TRP channels are, like, hypersensitive.
So they overreact.
Big time.
Yeah.
So when they get triggered, by heat, stress, spicy food, alcohol, whatever it is, they release these things called neuropeptides.
Neuropeptides.
Yeah, and those neuropeptides tell the blood vessels in your skin to dilate.
Dilate.
Widen. So more blood flows to the surface, and you get that redness, that flushed feeling.
And the burning?
Yep. And if that happens enough times, over and over again, it can actually lead to those permanent, visible blood vessels.
The telangiectasia we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
So it's no wonder people say to avoid those triggers.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay, what about those Demodex mites? I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're these microscopic mites that live on our skin.
Like everyone has them.
Pretty much, yeah. They live in our hair follicles.
So are they bad?
Most of the time, no. But for people with rosacea, they can cause issues.
In what way?
Well, they might clog the hair follicles, but the bigger issue is that when they die, they release stuff that triggers inflammation.
Oh.
And there's this bacteria, Bacillus oleronius, that lives inside these mites.
Bacteria inside mites.
Yep. It's a whole little ecosystem.
Wow.
So when the mite dies, that bacteria gets released and activates those TLR2 pathways we talked about earlier.
Oh, right. The alarm system.
Exactly. It just adds fuel to the fire, basically.
Makes it all worse.
And then, there are other changes, too, in the skin microbiome of people with rosacea.
Like what?
Things like higher levels of Staphylococcus epidermidis.
Another bacteria.
Yeah, and it can disrupt the balance, make things more sensitive.
So it's not like an infection exactly,
Yeah.
but it's how our skin's reacting to these little organisms.
Exactly.
So complicated.
And then, of course, there's the genetic component.
Right, and genetic.
The rosacea definitely seems to run in families.
So if your mom or dad has it, you're more likely to get it too.
That's the general idea.
Okay.
And research is starting to pinpoint some of those inherited factors.
Oh, interesting.
We know it's more common in people with fair skin who flush easily.
Especially like Celtic or Northern European ancestry.
Yeah, exactly. And there are these things called HLA alleles.
HLA alleles.
Yeah, they're involved in how your immune system responds to things.
Okay.
And studies have found specific variations in these alleles, called SNPs, that are linked to rosacea.
SNPs.
Single nucleotide polymorphisms.
Oh my gosh, this is getting really technical.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, tiny little variations in our DNA that can make us more susceptible to things like rosacea.
Wow.
So while your genes alone don't cause rosacea, they can influence how your body reacts to triggers.
Like,
some people are just more prone to that immune system overreaction.
so, like with everything you've said, immune system, blood vessels, microbes, genes, it sounds like it's all connected.
It is, very much so.
So how does it all come together?
Well, rosacea seems to develop when all those different systems, immune, vascular, microbiome, and your genetics, all start interacting and amplifying each other.
Amplifying each other.
Yeah, making each other worse, basically. It's a vicious cycle.
Can you give like a specific example?
Sure. Imagine someone who has genes that make their immune system super reactive to Demodex mites.
Okay.
So their skin gets inflamed, the blood vessels dilate, and guess what? That creates an even better environment for the Demodex to thrive in.
Oh, no.
So you get more mites, more inflammation, more redness, and it just keeps going.
It's a domino effect.
Exactly, and that's why it's so hard to treat.
Because you have to address, like, everything at once?
Yeah, you can't just put a cream on it and expect it to go away permanently.
It's about managing those root causes.
Exactly, finding what triggers you and then using the right tools to address those underlying issues.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So given all these factors, who's most at risk?
So rosacea can affect anyone, but certain groups are more likely to develop it.
Like who?
The classic case is fair-skinned adults, between 30 and 50,
Okay.
especially people who burn easily in the sun.
Makes sense.
And it's seen more often in Caucasians with, very fair skin.
Right.
It's probably because the redness and flushing are just more noticeable on lighter skin.
Ah, I see.
And the symptoms often start kind of subtly in that age range.
So you might not even realize it's rosacea at first.
Exactly. It could just be a little redness, a few bumps.
Easy to dismiss.
Right. But if you start noticing anything like that, persistent redness, any tingling, don't ignore it.
Yeah, better to check it out early.
Absolutely.
What about men versus women?
Women are actually diagnosed more often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Men often have more severe symptoms when they do get it. And one theory is that men are less likely to seek treatment early on.
Ah, so it has more time to progress.
Exactly. Which is why they're more prone to things like rhinophyma.
Oh, right.
So men, listen up.
Yeah, pay attention to your skin.
Don't ignore persistent redness.
Or sensitivity.
Yeah.
And we talked about genetics playing a role.
Huge role.
So if someone in your family has rosacea, you're more likely to get it.
Definitely increases your risk.
And there's research linking specific genes, right?
Yeah, they're finding more and more genes associated with inflammation that seem to be involved.
So if rosacea runs in your family, you should be extra careful.
For sure. Be on the lookout for early signs.
And avoid those triggers.
Yeah.
What about other things like lifestyle or health conditions? Do those have an impact?
Absolutely.
Like what?
Well, smoking is a big one.
Smoking.
Yeah, it's linked to a higher risk of developing rosacea.
Probably because of all the chemicals.
And the inflammation, yeah. Tobacco smoke does a number on your blood vessels and skin.
Makes sense.
And then people with autoimmune diseases also seem to be more susceptible.
Autoimmune diseases. Okay.
Things like celiac disease, type 1 diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, because they already have this underlying immune dysregulation going on.
Their immune system is, like, out of whack.
Exactly. So they need to be extra careful with their skin.
Right.
Focus on those anti-inflammatory lifestyle choices.
Diet, stress management, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
What about things outside of our bodies, environmental factors?
Oh, those are huge.
Like what?
Sun exposure is a major one.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Chronic UV exposure can really damage those blood vessels and make your skin inflamed.
So wear sunscreen.
Religiously.
And hats.
Hats, sunglasses, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, good to know.
And then there are those people who, react strongly to weather changes.
Yeah, get super flushed in the heat.
Or the cold, or the wind. They probably have some underlying vascular sensitivity, which makes them more prone to rosacea.
Okay, so be mindful of those things.
And the last one, which is super important, harsh skincare products.
Anaconda products.
Exfoliants, retinoids, those alcohol-based toners, anything that strips your skin.
Right.
They can damage your skin barrier, and that makes it way more prone to inflammation.
Makes sense. So it's really about, being gentle with your skin.
Exactly.
And paying attention to what it's telling you.
100%.
Now, we talked before about how rosacea might be linked to other things in the body.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the gut microbiome.
Gut-skin axis.
The gut-skin axis.
It's a really interesting area.
It is. So tell me more about that.
So our understanding of rosacea has, evolved. We used to think it was just a skin thing, but now we know it's much more connected to our overall health, especially our gut.
Our gut.
Yeah. And specifically, the microbiome.
Remind me, what's the microbiome again?
It's like this huge community of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that live in your gut.
Oh, right.
And they play a super important role in, everything.
Everything.
Well, almost everything. Digestion, immune function, even skin health.
Wow, so our gut health is really connected to our skin health.
Yeah, there's this two-way communication going on between your gut and your skin. It's what we call the gut-skin axis.
Okay.
And when your gut is balanced, everything works the way it should.
So your immune system's happy, your skin's happy.
Exactly.
But when there's an imbalance, it can lead to problems.
Yep. That's when things get tricky.
And that imbalance is called
Dysbiosis.
dysbiosis, right?
It basically means there's an imbalance in the types of bacteria in your gut.
Okay.
Maybe not enough of the good guys or too many of the bad guys.
Got it.
And when that happens, it can lead to inflammation, not just in your gut, but throughout your body.
Including the skin.
Including the skin.
So dysbiosis could be contributing to rosacea?
That's what the research is showing.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how interconnected everything is.
So what does the research actually say about the gut microbiome in people with rosacea?
Well, studies have found that people with rosacea tend to have a less diverse microbiome than people without it.
Yeah.
They have fewer different types of bacteria in their gut.
Ah, okay.
And they often have an overgrowth of certain bacteria that are known to cause inflammation. There's also a connection between rosacea and other gut issues.
Like what?
Things like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth,
Okay.
IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD.
So a lot of digestive problems.
Right.
Interesting.
And there's this one bacteria, Campylobacter.
Campylobacter.
Yeah. It's been found in both the gut and the skin of some rosacea patients.
Really?
Yeah. And it's also linked to inflammatory bowel diseases.
So there could be a shared inflammatory pathway.
Potentially. We're still learning, but it's definitely something to watch.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned a potential link to heart health, too.
Yeah, so the gut-skin connection might go even deeper than we thought.
Deeper.
Yeah, studies have shown that certain microbes in the skin of rosacea patients, especially a type called
Prevotella.
It's also associated with systemic inflammation and heart problems.
Heart problems, wow.
Things like atherosclerosis, hypertension, problems with your blood vessels.
That's pretty serious.
It is, and this might explain why people with rosacea have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's not like the rosacea is directly causing heart problems,
Right.
but it's that underlying inflammation, potentially influenced by those gut microbes, that's affecting both the skin and the heart.
So it's not just about, like, having bad bacteria in your gut.
Right. It's more nuanced than that.
What about the good bacteria?
Super important.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just about getting rid of the bad stuff. It's about having enough of the good stuff, too.
I see.
And with rosacea, we see a lack of certain beneficial bacteria.
Like that's Citrobacter.
The Cinetobacter. Yeah, it's a type of skin bacteria that's actually protective.
Protective.
Yeah, it helps prevent allergic reactions and inflammatory skin conditions like eczema.
Oh, cool.
But with rosacea, we often see lower levels of it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that might be contributing to the increased sensitivity and inflammation.
So it's about balance.
Balance is key, having the right mix of microbes, both in your gut and on your skin.
Okay. So this makes me think about topical antibiotics, which are often used for rosacea. Could they be messing with that balance?
That's a really good point.
Right.
Antibiotics like metronidazole or doxycycline, they can be really helpful for rosacea.
Right.
They target bacteria and reduce inflammation, so they can clear things up pretty quickly.
But they could also be disrupting the microbiome.
Potentially, yeah. They can kill off both good and bad bacteria, which can reduce the diversity of your microbiome.
And that's not good.
No, not ideal.
So you have to be careful.
Exactly. Use them strategically.
What about probiotics and prebiotics? Could those help?
Absolutely. Probiotics and prebiotics are like the building blocks of a healthy microbiome.
Okay.
Probiotics are the actual good bacteria,
Right.
and prebiotics are like the food that helps those good bacteria thrive.
I see.
And there's growing evidence that they can be really helpful for managing rosacea from the inside out.
Really?
Yeah, certain strains of probiotics have shown a lot of promise, like Lactobacillus rhamnosus, GG, Bifidobacterium longum,
Okay, got it.
and Lactobacillus praxissae.
Wow, those are some long names.
They are.
But they're good for the skin.
Yeah, they have anti-inflammatory effects, and they can even help strengthen the skin's barrier.
Interesting.
And prebiotics are important, too. They feed those good bacteria.
Where do you get prebiotics?
From food.
Food, okay.
Things like chicory root, garlic, onions, asparagus, all good stuff.
So eat your veggies.
Exactly.
And there's actual research on this.
Yeah, there are studies showing that probiotic supplements can improve your skin's barrier function,
Really?
reduce water loss, and even calm down redness.
That's amazing. So a healthy gut really can mean healthy skin.
It really can.
So it's not just about creams and lotions and stuff.
Right. It's about taking care of your whole body.
It sounds like the future of rosacea management is going to be way more holistic
I think so, yeah. We're moving away from just treating the symptoms on the surface.
and looking deeper
Deeper.
at the root causes.
Exactly.
So exciting. Okay, let's talk about what's out there right now.
Treatments.
Yeah, treatments. What actually works for managing rosacea?
Okay, so the first line of defense is usually topical treatments.
Topical. Okay, so creams and gels and stuff.
Yeah. They work by directly targeting the inflammation on your skin
Right.
and reducing those microbial triggers like the Demodex mites.
Makes sense.
Mm.
What are some of the top contenders?
So one that's really effective is ivermectin 1% cream.
Ivermectin. I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it has this dual action.
Dual action.
Yeah, it targets both the mites and the inflammation.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's especially helpful for papulopustular rosacea.
Which is the one with the bumps, right?
Yeah, the acne-like bumps.
Okay.
So ivermectin works by reducing the number of Demodex mites, but it also has direct anti-inflammatory properties.
So it helps with the redness and the bumps.
Exactly.
And how often do you use it?
Usually once a day, and most people start seeing results in about 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
And there's a bonus.
Bonus.
It also seems to promote a healthier skin microbiome
Oh, that's great.
by getting rid of those problematic bacteria.
Right, right.
Another one that's commonly used is metronidazole.
Metronidazole.
It comes as a gel or a cream,
Okay.
and it's been around for a while.
Does it work?
Yeah, it's really good for calming inflammation and reducing those pustules and redness.
How does it work?
It has both antimicrobial and soothing effects. So it helps to kill off bad bacteria and calm things down.
God,
And it's pretty gentle on the skin.
that's good.
Yeah, it's often used for milder forms of rosacea or in combination with other treatments.
Like oral medications.
Exactly.
Okay, so ivermectin and metronidazole. Anything else?
There's a zeolic acid.
Isoleic acid.
Usually it's a 15% gel or foam.
Okay.
And this one's really cool because it's a multitasker.
Multitasker.
Yeah, it has anti-inflammatory properties, but it's also an antioxidant.
So it fights free radicals.
Yeah, exactly.
Impressive.
So it helps reduce redness, bumps, and it can even help with uneven skin tone.
Really?
Yeah, it gently exfoliates the skin and fades hyperpigmentation.
So it's good for, like, those dark spots you can get after a breakout.
Exactly.